Hey guys, it's Stephen Freeborn here from freeborntrainingsystems.com, and real quick I just wanted to take you through an exercise that I really like for developing the glutes and the hamstrings and teaching people to really get into their hips more, and which is something that we can all have more practice at. So the exercise I want to kind of coach you through is called the Romanian deadlift, and I'm going to actually show you a dumbbell variation, but all the same rules apply if you're using a barbell. It's typically the harder deadlift variation for most people to learn because it does require a lot of work on teaching the proper hip hinge. So don't get frustrated if you don't get it right away. It takes practice, it takes time. I tend to think of it like this: if you're thinking squat on one end of a spectrum and deadlift on the other, the most squatty squat I can think of is something like a front squat or a high bar back squat. And then on the deadlift side of the spectrum, the most deadlifty deadlift, you like my technical jargon, is probably Romanian deadlift, or even maybe further down the spectrum is a stiff-legged deadlift, which I'm not a big fan of, but the Romanian deadlift is probably the next one on that list. It's basically a deadlift that maximizes motion at the hip, minimizes motion at the knee. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I always recommend people starting with a little bit heavier dumbbells than what they think, just because if you do it with too light of weight, it really doesn't feel quite natural. If you do it too heavy, it's going to kind of prevent you from actually focusing on your form and your technique. So pick something a little heavier than what you would think you might use. That's the best guideline. If it feels really heavy, lighten it up. If it feels too light, add some weight. But the way you're going to get started is you're going to take about a shoulder width stance. You want a little bit narrower stance. You don't want to be real wide. That's going to make this exercise feel really awkward. So narrow it up about shoulder width, toes pointed slightly out or straight ahead, whichever feels a little bit more comfortable for you. And then to initiate the motion, you're just going to bend the knees slightly, and then all the rest of the motion is going to come from moving your hips back and your chest coming forward. All right, you're going to actually allow yourself to bend over. The key is we just want to keep our shoulders and our hips in the same relative relationship. We don't want our shoulders to be lower than our hips, and we don't want our shoulders to be higher than our hips, as arching too much. So what it'll look like from the side is you'll bend your knees slightly, you'll push your butt back, let those dumbbells come down the front of your leg, keep them really close to your body. You'll drive your hips forward, extend your knees and your hips, squeeze your glutes at the top, bring your pelvis under your rib cage, and then reverse. Should feel a stretch in your hamstrings as you reach that bottom position. Come back up. The best way too, if you're struggling with this, is to think of kind of external cues versus internal cues. So don't worry too much about your hips, but worry more about reaching your butt back, or think about trying to touch your butt to the wall behind you and allow that chest to come forward. All right. Another great way to think about it is maybe you're looking out a window, but you're really close to the window. So instead of just bending forward, you'd smack your nose on the glass. You're going to have to move your hips away from the wall so you can bend over and look out the window. That's another external cue you can use. I personally always teach it using the butt to wall cue. I think most people do pretty well with that cue, and most people take to the exercise pretty well after a few reps of practice and a few reps of cueing. Like I said, I think this is a great exercise to help us develop our glutes, our hamstrings, teach us really good hip hinge, and help us get into those hips more. But if you struggle with it, it's okay. Keep practicing. Use a load that's heavy enough, but not so heavy you feel like you're straining or you're having to focus really hard on holding onto the weight and not focusing on your form. If you have any questions or want to talk to me about it, please feel free to reach out to me. But I hope this gives you another exercise to help you develop the lower body and that posterior chain specifically, and hopefully teach you how to pattern that hip hinge a little bit better. So like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know. But until then, I hope you guys keep having a great day and have a great rest of your week. Bye.